Now, you all know by now, I'm on the health kick of a lifetime. I've lost over 80 pounds, nearly 6 stone. I went from looking like this to this. And obviously, there was a hell of a lot of training and making sure my diet was in check. And I will do a full video on that at some point. But one of the X factors that made this all possible was making sure that I was getting the right vitamins in my body, not just to feel good physically to get through the workouts, but actually mentally to get through it as well. And that's where Heights Vitals absolutely smashed it for me. In 2 tiny little capsules, you get 20 vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that are going to make you feel amazing. And I actually looked it up on their website before buying. 330 scientific studies back this up. So it's not just your bro scientists over here like me, it's the real scientists telling you this is legit. And the reason it's made such an impact for me is better energy and better sleep, which when you're training and you're depleting yourself and you're trying to diet, you need that so badly. And one of the other bonuses is better focus as well. Like, I'm actually like not drained throughout the day. The mental focus is fantastic. So if you want to quickly upgrade your everyday performance like I did, this is an easy option that you can take immediately. And the great thing is there's a hassle-free refund on the first orders within 30 days of delivery. So there's no reason not to give it a try. So if you want to check them out and you want 20% off your first month, click the link in the description below, go to heights.com/TrueGeordie and use my code TrueGeordie20. That's all block capitals, all one word, TrueGeordie20 for 20% off your first month. All of that's in the description if you need to remember, don't worry. So big love to Heights for sponsoring this video and helping me perform at my best and for 20% off for you lot. But for now, enjoy the video. Big love to the sponsor. If you want to get in touch with the sponsor, the True Geordie YouTube channel, you can click the link in the description below. But today, we're going to look at the parties that are wanting to lead the UK at the next election. And we're going to try and figure out who is really fit to look after us. Because I've got to be honest, I'm fucking shitting myself. Because politics as we know it has changed. Like, the right and the left are barely resembling what they once used to be known for. The right was once painted out as like the party of the rich, the party of the toffs, the odd Nazi and fascist in there. The left, when I was brought up, was the side of the little guy, the miner, the factory worker, the ordinary working class bloke, grafting every day to feed his family. That's dead now. The only working class people voting Labour now are the ones who've been like conditioned into it, like from birth. Gotta vote Labour. We vote Labour around here. Labour couldn't give 2 fucks about the working class. That is so obvious. They've abused the natural empathy that, you know, ordinary people have, and that generosity, the desire to help vulnerable people. And they weaponized it. They used that kindness to ram through policies that nobody voted for. Open borders, sending billions in foreign aid, net zero, DEI, the fucking hotels for migrants. They fucking killed free speech even, supposedly representing the working class man. And they paid for it all by hammering the very taxpayer that they're supposed to represent. And then you've got people coming to the UK, never put money into the fucking system, no national insurance, no tax, no nothing, and they're getting benefits. And I'm not saying this is the only fucking problem we've got by any means, but when people who've been putting it into the system for fucking decades are struggling, it's an absolute piss take. Young people can't get on the property ladder, and there isn't even enough homes because of that many people coming into the fucking country. And when you point any of this out, you're labelled as right wing or far right. I was raised to vote Labour. I just watched it go wrong for so long. I'm like, fuck that. You lost me. I didn't become a fucking fascist or a Nazi. You lot fucked up when you stopped giving a fuck about us. I'm the same person I was. You lot changed. And look, they've shouted Nazi and fascist and that many times, it literally just means nothing anymore. You can't shame us anymore because you've just outdone yourselves. You've used that shame button too much. It's broken. And so is this country. And we've watched this country that we've paid for collapsing on itself, and it doesn't benefit the people who literally built it. So how do we stop it? Who the fuck are we going to vote for? As usual, it's always, who's the best of a bad bunch here? Well, there's always Labour. Good old Keir Starmer. I've literally lost count of the scandals that Keir Starmer's had. I feel like there's a new one every day. The latest one in the last 24 hours was that he let sex offenders off. This was back when he was head of the prosecution service. He let sex offenders off with warnings. And he instead of like locking them up, he gave 13,000 of them a slap on the wrist. Yeah, get away, you little scamp. Don't do that again. The same man who voted no against the rape gang inquiries. shock. Released thousands of criminals early as soon as he got in power, which a number of them literally murdered people within a week of being released. Funny old thing. I'll never forget that dog walker. We've talked about him on the channel before. Poor guy, just fucking walking his dog, just murdered. Because Keir Starmer was like, yeah, let them out. And let's not forget, he appointed the best friend of the world's most famous paedophile as his US ambassador. This guy was literally feeding Epstein information on what was going on inside the UK government. Keir Starmer was like, he'd be a good guy to appoint. Yep. Sound. And while he's soft on pedos and criminals and murderers and all of that, he's definitely tough on mothers who tweet. Because he locked her up, didn't he? For fucking 2-3 years just for sending a nasty tweet, for fuck's sake. Along with 12,500 others or whatever it is. Not to mention unemployment is rising. Nearly 1 in 5 young men now are without a job. People's bills are up. Immigration is fucked. There's more small boat arrivals than ever before. Between foreigners on benefits and illegal immigrants coming in, we're spending about 15 billion a year. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Now, that number doesn't encompass everything from housing, NHS, all of that. It's probably way worse. Now, look, we can always vote Conservative. I mean, as shit as Labour are, they're literally a continuation of what the Conservative Party were doing for 14 fucking years before that. Boris Johnson and the like pissed us off so much that the turnout was so bad, Keir Starmer won. Even that's the Conservative Party's fault. And what's sad is when I listen to Kemi Badenoch, she actually seems like quite an intelligent lass. She'd probably be quite useful if she wasn't in a party that is just historically so good at fucking everything up. I look at her like she's a decent captain that's just got on a ship that's already sinking. You can't save this lass. What are you doing? It doesn't matter how good you are because no one's going to trust your lot again because we're done. You can't call yourself the Conservative Party when you don't conserve shit. The clue was in the name about what you were supposed to do. You haven't conserved anything, you lot. And when you look in the polls, you've got Reform UK top, Greens then second, and then beneath that, Restore Britain, the new guys on the block. Now let's take a look at the Green Party and their leader. This guy is Zach Polanski, or as I like to call him, Dave. Yeah, he was born Dave Polden. Apparently, his family changed from Polanski when he was young. The official story is to avoid anti-Semitism. So later, when he was 18, he changed back to Polanski. That still doesn't quite explain the fact of why he went from David to Zach at 18 years old. Good name, Dave. Now wrong with it, mate. I couldn't help but think about his first day back at college and everyone's like, all right, Dave. And he's like, yeah, I'm Zach now. And everyone's like, it's been Dave for 18 fucking years. What the fuck's this all about? Like, clearly not happy with who he was. Now, as it happens, he is a gay Jewish fella, which ticks a couple of boxes, and we love that in Britain, don't we? I don't think we've had a gay prime minister before. Officially. I mean, unless those rumours about Starmer turn out to be true. And what I find interesting about Dave being gay is that he doesn't actually seem to be able to define what a woman is. So how can he know that he doesn't want to fuck them?
Can a woman have a penis?
Yes. It's going to take them a long time on the National Health Service to get rid of it, but that's another separate problem.
To get rid of it? Why would you want to get rid of it? A penis doesn't make a woman a man or a female, does it? It's other things, isn't it? What difference would a penis make to a woman?
I think we'll leave it on a woman can have a penis.
I think you're lacking nuance and complexity about a pretty complicated
Not really, you
conversation.
couldn't have been clearer.
I'm clear, because actually when you want to look at the science...
Look at the science. What difference does science matter to what a woman is? It's what you feel like, isn't it? Doesn't matter what chromosomes, what penis or vagina you're born with.
Ask a simple question.
But you're laughing at it, which I think demeans trans people.
Absolutely ridiculous.
What have you got against trans people? Why are you punching down? Why are you not saying
nothing against
the real
trans
problem
people?
in this
I've already
country?
told you that I think trans people...
You sound like you have a huge problem with trans people.
No.
I love it when people try and tell other people what their issues are. I think you might have an issue, mate.
It sounds to me like you don't understand what a woman is, which I think is a huge problem for someone leading a party in this country.
A woman is a gender.
Sorry?
You said what's a woman?
No,
a woman is a gender.
Biological
and gender
female.
is complicated.
No.
Gender is a spectrum.
It's not complicated. A woman is a biological
gender a spectrum? Is it that binary?
Do you think people are born male and female?
Not necessarily.
We're just... What are we born? Who cares? Do you know what I mean? Stop getting hung up on that stuff. I was born a unicorn. Never grew out of it.
I think it's more complicated than that.
It's not more complicated, Zach.
Well, it's not more complicated than that if you're a TV show host who wants to make it binary and ridiculous.
Zach.
He wants to make it binary. Not science. Piers Morgan wants to make it binary.
If you want to have a nuanced conversation that actually reflects science.
You know,
I love how he keeps quoting science. How did we end up at this point? I never imagined this when I was studying science in school, that this would be where science was quoted when I was a grown man.
When I asked you if you want to be Prime Minister, there is not a cat in hell's chance of you ever becoming Prime Minister if you don't know what a woman is?
Well, you'll see us going up in the polls. We're the most favourable party in London right now.
Good old London. Yeah, that's a real good place to judge a person's character. So look, women do have cocks, according to the leader of the Green Party. Some of them have fannies as well. It's really irrelevant. I don't think he studied science. In fact, I know what he studied because he studied the arts at school. Shocking, I know. He was a drama school kid. He did a bit of theatre and he was also involved with the National Centre for Circus Arts. I mean, he wouldn't be the first clown we've had, would he? Imagine, though, we elect someone whose background involved the actual circus. I honestly thought Keir Starmer was like a rock bottom for this country, and then, like, we're just like, nah. Could get worse, actually. And what's funny is when he's introduced there, like, when he was an actor, his acting gigs included him wearing, and I'm not even joking here, chicken costumes. And he also worked at a kids' adventure company. He literally did the whole, like, dancing in front of the kids and all that shit. Like, he was a literal children's entertainer. And then on these TV shows, the interviews, they call him an actor like he was fucking Al Pacino or something. Have you seen the videos that they make of him?
I grew up in the north, not far from here. I remember I used to wake up with this hopeful feeling, not like I was in a cornflakes advert or anything.
Do you really think that this guy was an actor of any level? Look at how quickly he delivers that not like I was in a cornflakes advert. What the fuck does that even mean, by the way? But look at the way he delivers this.
Hopeful feeling, not like I was in a cornflakes advert or anything.
He's fucking terrible. He's actually terrible. He was a children's entertainer. I'd rather have missed a fucking tumble, for Christ's sakes. At least he made it to the big time. Oh, and speaking of kids, by the way, the Green Party says that primary school children should be taught to take drugs safely. You imagine what all the parents out there who've watched their children, I mean, literally, there's a lot of them who've died of overdoses. And this fucking tit is saying things like that. Honestly, he's a fucking muppet. And if that isn't bad enough, when looking deeper into his background, he also was a hypnotherapist. So just to be clear, child entertainer, circus, hypnotherapy. Never done a proper day's graft in his life, has he? Now, apparently in 2013, he conducted a session for a female journalist from The Sun who said that she wanted to be given bigger boobs by him. He'd do the hypnotherapy on her and it would increase her jugs. And then she did an article after seeing him when she said that they had grown. And I'm not exaggerating when I say, growing that woman's tits is the first good thing he'd done for society in all of this time we've been following his journey here. Tits. That's his contribution so far. To be fair, I heard he used to sing songs about farting to kids, which probably was a laugh. It's interesting, though, that as a hypnotherapist and as a gay man, he would use his powers to inflate a woman's tits. Is he really gay? That's my question. I mean, obviously, he doesn't know what a man or a woman is, but he might be one of those gay best mates who just likes to watch them get dressed and whatever, you know what I mean? Pretends. We've all done it. But yeah, let me know in the comments as we're going through here, what about this guy's background says, I can run the country? I don't think he could run a corner shop, mate. There's nothing about this guy's life prior to politics that should make anyone, and I mean anyone, take him seriously. Let's take a little look at his promo video for election.
We all hate party broadcasts. We just want to watch Corrie or whatever's on next. But I just want to take a moment to ask you to remember something the government want you to forget.
I hope they want us to forget the fact that you're in a 1970s living room, mate. I'm not exaggerating in that when I was a little kid, my grandparents' living room was more modernized than this. The pub carpet, the wartime radio, what the fuck are those curtains? And he's on about, yeah, everyone just wants to watch Corrie. Do you know Netflix has been invented now? He's so out of touch that they've made this set and he's like, yeah, this is a working class person's living room, isn't it? I'm literally in shock. I'm just looking around like, what the fuck am I looking at? Yeah, everyone just wants to watch Corrie, don't they, though? I think I'm going back like 20 plus years since someone mentioned Coronation Street in like random conversation. And if that video was bad, the next one's even worse.
I met a man recently. Said he wanted to stand on a beach like this one with a gun and shoot the people coming across on small boats.
Using a reference of some psychopath who probably doesn't even exist, let's be real, that he wants to stand and shoot people who are coming across on the boats as if like, that's the far right, that's how the far right think. People don't want to shoot these people. They just want them to fuck off back the way they came from. That's perfectly reasonable. But let's make them unreasonable by saying they wanted, the random unnamed man wanted to shoot them.
Said it like he was just talking about the weather. The worst bit, wasn't even that shocked. Because it's this obsession that has gripped the country. For boats, for boats, for boats.
He loves immigration. He loves it. It's a superpower according to him. And he's made it very clear as to why we absolutely need more immigrants.
1 in 5 care workers are foreign nationals. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't particularly want to wipe someone's bum.
Just thank God we have immigrants to come and wipe our asses. Thank God for that. And if there's one thing Zach Polanski made absolutely clear there, sorry, Dave, he doesn't want to do it. He's above that. Let the little immigrants do that. And Zach Polanski's entire thing is basically tax the rich. That's how he thinks we're going to solve all our problems. And I looked into his plan of how he's going to tax the rich and that's just going to fix everything. And literally the amount of money he would bring in from his idea, it would be a drop in the ocean compared to what the fuck is going wrong with this country right now. That money wouldn't even cover, ironically, what we're spending on illegal immigrants, what we're spending on benefits for foreigners. And remember, because he wants completely open borders, that number of immigrants will actually explode under the Green Party. So the whole thing would be a waste of time. And ironically, the rich are already leaving the UK in high numbers because of the Labour Party. And as understandable as it is for people to just say, well, just tax the rich, they've got loads of money. The problem is that they've also got the ability to fuck off. Like, we haven't got that ability. And what people never mention is the amount of tax that they pay compared to average people. And as much as I think that's fair, the math needs to math if we're going to fucking do shit like this. The top 10% of wage earners pay over 60% of our tax. I think it's the top 1% pay like 28.5% of tax. And the top 0.1% of earners pay more than the bottom 50% combined. And when you have a tiny percent of people paying so much like that, it takes a very small amount of them to go, nah, fuck this, we're going, to have a big impact on the economy. And then you've got the problem of, well, how do we replace that money? Because regular people aren't making that money. So it puts the regular people's taxes up. And you know what happens then? Socialists go broke, get voted out. And lo, the cycle continues. Studies show that this is it's a net negative. It leads to fewer jobs, smaller investment, slower growth. The countries that have tried that, they've scrapped it very, very quickly. It's basically a uni student's idea of how to run the country, who've never done a hard day's work and haven't had to face the harsh reality of the real world. No offense, uni students, love you, but this is the reality. And this guy doesn't even seem to have a fucking clue where wealth is even generated.
The real wealth creators in this country are cleaners, teachers, nurses, the people who keep our economy moving.
Cleaners, teachers, and nurses are creating wealth. I don't even need to take that apart, do I? I think anyone listening to that, no disrespect to cleaners, teachers, and nurses, they're a good part of the world that we live in. They're not creating money for the economy, mate. And if you think that, you're a fucking idiot. I'll tell you who's definitely not creating wealth. Children's entertainers like that cunt. So let's take a look at a Green Party promo video and see what they've got to offer.
मेरा नाम हना स्पेंसर है। मैं ग्रीन पार्टी की उम्मीदवार हूँ।
दुकानदार, सफाई करने वाले, ड्राइवर्स, माएं, ये हम हैं जो इस इलाके को चलाते हैं। लेकिन सियासतदान हमारे लिए काम नहीं कर रहे हैं। बिल्स बढ़ते जा रहे हैं, किराए हमें घरों से निकाल रहे हैं और हम 2 गुना मेहनत करके भी कम कमा रहे हैं। रिफॉर्म हमारी कम्युनिटीज़ को तोड़ना चाहती हैं। वो उन खानदानों को डिपोर्ट करना चाहती हैं जो सालों से यहाँ रह रहे हैं और जो
Nothing says integration like speaking a foreign language to win votes in your own country. That was a real video made by the Green Party to win votes in communities within this country. And if you're wanting an explanation for it, let's see what Dave had to say about it.
Shouldn't British politics and campaigning be done in English language only?
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
Zach, what about inclusivity? Why are you campaigning in Urdu?
Thanks, pal.
The cheeky little bastard just ran away like that without having the fucking balls to face the question. Answer the question. Why are you campaigning in a foreign language? So after that, I think it's safe to say it's a no from me on the Green Party. Next up is Nigel, Farage and Reform. They are the front runners so far from what I've seen. And they're the first ones that have come along and people have thought like maybe this is some change compared to what we've been used to. They got a lot of attention early on because they said we're going to stop the boats. They said they were going to raise the income tax threshold, which obviously would save a lot of us money. Scrap net zero, for fuck's sake. Someone's got to save us money on the energy bills, cut business rates to help business owners out, and ban the trans ideology shit from schools. And look, there's some skepticism on their maths and how much of this is actually going to work out financially, but there was a lot of easy wins there early on where you were like, yeah, Makes sense. Unlike anyone who comes and says anything about immigration, they were called fascists, racists, far right initially. But they've just grown so much that people have to take them seriously now. They're not a challenger. They're very much in the front running. Now let's talk a bit about Nigel Farage, because he's been around in politics for years. Joined the Conservative Party at 14 years old. Being in politics for over 30 years. Famously involved in the Brexit campaign, which a lot of people give him credit for that. And he was a big voice in that. But people voted for Brexit because they wanted to stop immigration. It wasn't because they loved Nigel Farage, let's be honest. But the reason people voted for Brexit failed anyways. They didn't stop immigration at all. But I do think Farage gained a lot of credit from that movement because he was one of the very first politicians to speak out against immigration and be like, look, enough's enough, when it was far from cool. Now, the thing with him for me is I don't know if I like him or dislike him, but I don't trust him. When I watch him talk, he speaks for ages. And a lot of the time, he doesn't get to the point. He talks about how the last government was bad and how, his government would be better. But often he doesn't put his finger on, like, how you're going to be better. It's very vague. And so many of his speeches, they're a bit waffly. He did this speech and I watched it through and I was just like, all right, what you got to say for yourself, Like, what promises are you going to make? What changes are you going to make? And so much of it was just whinging about the way the old governments were and dropping the odd little thing about, well, we're going to make sure our children are taught the right history in schools. And it's like, yeah, but that's not the fucking priority right now, is it, mate? Like, yeah, it's nice and all, but like, get to the fucking point. And it's just so much waffle. And I'm not saying he might not be able to do the job. Who fucking knows, right? But like, that's the sort of thing that it is a bit off-putting. And to be honest, it's not the only thing that's a bit off-putting. He did this post saying, I can't be bullied, I can't be bought. You actually can though, mate. You see, Farage was on Cameo, that thing where like you can pay celebrities to like give you a happy birthday message and shit. They literally were paying him to say random shit online.
This is for Catherine and it's booked by Big Chungus. I know that Bussy be so talented. It's doing cartwheels, but I don't care. Happy birthday, huge anus. Attention, all sussy gamers. Tuesday is dropping a dutty track, and I've got to tell you, it's going to be better than Brexit. Make sure to stream it all to your crewmates so we can find out who the imposter is. And Big Chungus is out.
I don't know if that's worse than the children's entertainer shit. It definitely isn't, but it's bad, isn't it?
Hi, I'm Nigel Farage, and you've got to listen to the new Blues debut EP, New Old Memories, when it drops. It's going to be pogtastic.
Jesus Christ. This might be harsh, but I do think there's an argument to say immediate disqualification. How can you run the country when that is how you made a living? You're telling me you're so switched on and you've got the answers when your best answer to make a part of your income was reading out stupid messages online. Do you know, I know like thick YouTubers who don't even have to go that low. And he's saying he can't be bought and people are literally like, will you say this if I give you 50 quid? Yep, I will. It's giving, I can be bought. And look, they've been pulled up on some of their financial plans and how the math isn't mathing as well.
There may well be a £10.5 billion black hole in your pub's plan.
No, that's completely wrong. What our critics, I think deliberately claimed, was that we were doing it for the whole of hospitality.
Reduce VAT to 10% for the hospitality sector. Not just for pubs, but for the whole hospitality sector as well.
It's not accurate.
Read the document. This is for the hospitality industry. Read the document.
Oh, it's classic. We've made it very clear. Not the pubs, but for the whole of hospitality. Sorry, for the pubs, not the it's one of the two. And also, Farage has just flip-flopped a fair bit. That is a worry as well.
Only reform will detain and deport anyone that comes illegally.
So he says that, but like not long before this fucking video came out, he was saying a completely different story.
It's a political impossibility to deport hundreds of thousands of people. We simply can't do it.
It's impossible, apparently, but now he's saying absolutely possible. When you've changed your story like that, it just makes me think, will you actually follow through? And another thing is like, how can you deport people if you can't even define what a British person is?
It's about how you feel And it's about what your priorities are. That's what I'd say. What are your priorities?
It's about anyone who feels British. And it's kind of reminiscent to that. If you feel like a woman, you are a woman, which is exactly the sort of thinking that allowed grown-ass men to walk into women's bathrooms when there's little kids in there, or beating up women in the Olympics for that matter and getting a gold medal. If anyone can feel British, then how can you tell me you're going to stop immigration? New arrivals can just go, I feel British now. You said if I feel British, I'm British. I'm feeling British, motherfucker. They can then demand full rights, nice house, benefits, the lot, serve it right up. If you're saying you're going to deport people who aren't British, but then you're unable to clearly define what British is, those two ideas completely cancel each other out. And then there's his affiliation with the Tory party.
And the Conservatives, especially under Boris Johnson, with the Boris wave, opened up the doors unconditionally in a way that no longer could the argument be made that immigration was good for the economy.
So he says that, and then underneath we see the community note, 5 out of the 8 current Reform MPs were Conservative MPs under Boris Johnson and voted for Johnson's immigration policies. People were wanting to vote for Reform to get away from the Tory party. You've got 118 Tory politicians who've crossed over into Reform, and that number's probably going to go up. And that includes the Home Secretary and the Immigration Minister. They presided over the highest net immigration in British history. And you're telling me they're going to go over to Reform, completely do the exact opposite of what they've been doing before, and give us change. And we've got these pictures of these Tory MPs and what they voted for in the past. Pioneer digital ID, imported millions of migrants, given kids puberty blockers, enforced unlawful lockdowns. I mean, this is the worst of the worst. This is everything we do not want from a government moving forward. And Farage has welcomed them in with open arms.
More hotels have been coming online almost every month throughout the whole of this year. So Suella Braverman and her predecessor, Priti Patel, were procuring more hotels. What I have done in my short tenure is ramp that up and procure even more.
So even more hotels for the migrants. And this is a guy who's apparently going to help bring change for Reform. The way I see it, Farage has been a politician for a long time. He has clicked up with a lot of these guys. He spent a lot of time around them. And he's bringing in people who played a major role in the failures of the past. And that's where there's a massive drawback in having a lifelong politician like Farage in charges. I'd rather someone who hadn't been in the political game his entire life. And because he's been in politics for ages, he's also being very political in having spats with people. Even down to the creation of the Reform Party, that seemed a little bit backstabby to me. It was set up originally by a woman called Catherine Blakelock. It was originally called the Brexit Party. Now, she asked Farage to lead it, and he was happy with that. A few months later, she had some old tweets exposed, which kind of got her into some hot water. It was a big issue for Reform at the time, and Farage suggested, look, you transfer your shares to me in the meantime. I'll take control, and in return, when things have died down, I'll give you control of Great Yarmouth. She did as she was told. She resigned as leader and director, transferred her shares to Farage, and got nothing in return. And Farage was actually ordered to pay her 10 grand in court for that. So even that was messy. And ironically, the seat she was promised went to a guy called Rupert Lowe, which we're going to talk about him in a minute. And Farage also fell out with the deputy leader, Ben Habib. He got the boot, or he resigned. He basically said that Reform had become like a cult for Nigel Farage. He said he was incapable of introspection and that it was just all about him. But ironically, the biggest fallout came with the guy who got Catherine Blakelock's seat, Rupert Lowe. Now, the thing about Lowe was he was one of the very few Reform MPs who was having an impact online. He was going viral. He was connecting with people.
I don't particularly care if we're liked by the rest of the world. I care if we're respected. Because right now, Britain is a joke, and it has been for some time. I want the British government to put the British people at the top of the agenda. Yeah! We should make no apologies for that. Learn from Trump. Let's be unapologetically patriotic. Slash tax across the board. Enforce the border. Deport those with no right to be here. Accept biological reality. Fight back against wokery. Bulldoze nonsensical foreign aid. Eradicate DEI. Deliver sensible infrastructure. Carpet bomb public sector waste. Brutally crack down on crime. And plenty more. Let's make Great Britain great again. Thank you. Thank you.
He got a standing ovation for that speech, and many people online immediately preferred him as the future leader of reform to Nigel Farage, because he's just such a straight talker. All the criticisms I had earlier of Farage about how he goes around the houses to get to the fucking point, this guy was just banging out points, like, constantly. There's no waffle. It was all about his beliefs, his policies, and if you don't like them, you can fuck off. And I think Farage always struggled to be accepted as a leader because of the way he was painted out during the Brexit thing, and now he's a bit of a clown. Like I say, people voted for Brexit because they wanted Brexit, not because they wanted him. And many could argue you could say the same about reform initially. But Rupert Lowe was coming across with real leadership qualities that Farage just didn't really show. And even Elon Musk spotted it. Elon Musk tweeted on January 5th, "The Reform Party needs a new leader. Farage doesn't have what it takes." And when you consider how respected Musk is on the right, that was a major blow to Nigel Farage's leadership. On the exact same day, he tweeted out about Rupert Lowe, "I have not met Rupert, but his statements online that I have read so far make a lot of sense." So he openly praised Rupert Lowe while bashing Nigel Farage, saying he didn't have the bottle for it. In my opinion, that was the beginning of the end for Rupert Lowe in reform. You see, Farage could not be upstaged in his own party, and some of the criticisms that people have made about him earlier about how it's all about Farage, there's probably some truth in that. He wants the spotlight on him. He doesn't want this guy going viral and being the one everyone's cheering. And as much as Farage had been seen as taking a stronger stance on things like immigration over Labour and the Conservatives, Rupert Lowe was immediately stronger on everything that mattered to those on the right across the board. His basic attitude was the people of Britain are done taking shit and they're not going to let it fly anymore. And I think it was immediately really hard for Farage to look like the leader when he wasn't able to speak with that same level of ruthlessness as Rupert Lowe was. Farage cares a lot more about what people think, and Lowe didn't give two shits. He criticised Nigel Farage publicly and privately, and it wasn't even in a way of, like, being a dick. It was more of throwing a challenge to him, like, you need to step up, my guy. Like, we need to fucking be ready for this. He said he was watering down the immigration policies. He questioned his messianic qualities as a leader. Basically, like, he loves the adulation and being a leader. But he needs to be getting ready to get this party to actually govern the fucking country. So Lowe really put the pressure on and went, look, I want to see a plan of how you plan on governing the country instead of just pointing out everything that Labour and the Conservatives have done wrong. And I think Lowe had to go. Like, Farage was like, nah, fuck this. I'm not having this. Like, so Reform suspended Rupert Lowe, and then came the allegations. So Zaya Youssef and Lee Anderson accused him of threatening violence. Apparently, he was threatening to shoot Zaya Youssef on more than one occasion. This guy here is going to shoot Zaya Youssef. What is he, 60 odd? Bear in mind, that's like 10 years in jail if you're found guilty. They don't, like, you know, not take that seriously. Reform also came out and said that there was very severe bullying going on in Rupert Lowe's office. 2 female employees apparently made complaints, and at the time it was reported as if it was Rupert Lowe himself doing that bullying as well. Now, Rupert Lowe was very clear. There is no bullying. There's never been any bullying. And apparently the 2 women only made complaints after they themselves admitted to serious offences and were facing disciplinary action against them. And this is the cause arriving at Rupert Lowe's property. I think it was like 4 cop cars to raid his house. Rupert Lowe had got in touch with the cops and was like, look, I have got guns because I'm a farmer. I'll happily turn them over to you. And yet they still raided his house. This guy's the age of a pensioner. Fucking mental, this. So this is an absolute shitstorm for Rupert Lowe. Not nice at all. And Nigel Farage, at the same time that this is all happening, goes out publicly and goes, look, we've got rid of him.
And when we found out that some serious complaints had gone in, we thought, you know what, let's just suspend the whip.
And we'll also accuse him of threatening to kill a few members of the team. Prosecution service dropped everything, obviously. And there was no proof of Rupert Lowe bullying anyone at all. And what's funny is that original story of, well, we've just got to get rid of him, he's been bullying people. The story of why they got rid of Rupert Lowe changed dramatically later on.
When he stood up and said that we got to consider the mass deportation of entire communities, including those born in the United Kingdom, that just moves way beyond a point of reasonableness, of decency, of morality. And that was the moment at which, I realised we just had to get rid of him.
Except he never said that, did he, Nigel? He never said British born. He never said entire communities, not once. In any case, I thought that the bullying is why you got rid of him. Turns out nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with the fact that you told the cops that he was threatening to kill the people in Reform. Now, it's that he wants to remove entire communities, something he never even said. And Rupert's clarified exactly what he said.
Anyone arriving illegally, detain and deport. Anyone living here illegally, detain and deport. Anyone any criminals in our prisons who are foreign nationals, deport. Families of those people where a rapist is raping white underage English working class girls who've been groomed, if that family knew that that person was perpetrating that evil on those vulnerable young girls, if they were foreign nationals or dual nationals, I would deport them. I have never said whole communities of British passport holders should be deported.
End of story. So let's look at the lies that were told here. We got the first lie, which was that he was bullying people. The second lie, which was that he was threatening to kill people. The third lie was that he wanted to deport whole entire communities. So why did they lie? Well, Rupert Lowe has his own opinion. Why did they do it? He just admitted today that it was because I wanted to deport foreign rape gang members and their complicit family members. They abused the justice system to imprison me because I wanted mass deportation of animalistic savages who gang rape young girls and those who enable it. They tried to have him arrested. This could have got him in jail. They tried to ruin my life because I advocated for that, to take away from me my family, my wife, my children, my grandchildren, because I spoke on those deportations. My family was raided by armed police at 9 o'clock on a Friday night because of what they did. Do you trust these people? Honestly, fuck no. They weaponized the police against someone because they didn't agree with him, because they were threatened by him politically. Do you know how fucked up that is? And what's ironic is that is so establishment level tactics and so dirty political tactics. That's not change. That's exactly what you'd expect from shitty politicians who've been in this game for years. And they haven't stopped there, because they're also, and this is ironic because of what happened to Reform when they got started, they're now calling Rupert Lowe and his new political party, Restore, Nazis.
Then I fear that we will see a rise of a really worrying, dangerous form of extreme right ethno-nationalism. And I think we're beginning, over the last couple of weeks already, to see some specimens of it. Nobody over the last quarter of a century has done more to defeat the genuine, intolerant, abhorrent, extreme far right than me.
Yeah. Sure you have. Well done, mate. And he's not the only one. Leila Cunningham of Reform is also saying it.
British people are not going to vote for a party that only believes you can be British if you're white.
Never said it. Never said it. Rupert Lowe has never said that you got to be white and Christian to be British. What a load of shit, man. And you know what's sad? I've actually watched Leila Cunningham debate, people from the left about, grooming gangs and things like that. And I've thought, articulate, admired some of the conversations that she's had. And you've just used the exact same tactics that they used against you on Rupert Lowe. You prove that you know better. Proper letdown. So who are Restore and what do they stand for? Well, Rupert Lowe has done a video, which, the views, it's got 41 million views in the less than 2 weeks.
I have chosen to speak to you today from the farm because places like this represent what proper Britain is about.
He should have just set up like a 1970s living room. That would have been authentic, talking about watching curry, but we'll go with it. I'm
now going to dedicate my life to finding, organising, funding and providing hundreds of qualified candidates to present to the British people at the next general election. The men and women standing for Restore in that election will not be politicians. I promise you that. They will not be failed ministers. They will not be tainted by failures of the past. They will be from business, from the military, from science, from medicine, from education, from industry, representing real communities up and down the country. Every single one will be from well outside the existing political establishment, and every single one will understand the difficult decisions that need to be taken.
That sounds so common sense. Why has no one ever done that before? Why are we always saddled with these soulless, brain-dead bastards who are in charge of such important decisions of which they have no clue of the consequences? Let's get people in those jobs who've actually achieved something with their fucking life. Absolutely. And look, in theory, this sounds great. In practice, it might not work so well. But I understand it. It makes sense. And apparently, within 2 weeks of launching Restore, they have got 100,000 members. Now, for context, the Tories, been going about 200 fucking years, they've got 120,000 members. It's the fastest growing political party in British politics history. Which begs the question, how the fuck is Rupert doing this and who is he? Well, he's a businessman, a chairman, former football chairman, and obviously works on a farm now. He's got his own farm. I don't think he's fucking doing the heavy lifting, but he's got a farm and he donates his MP salary to charity every year, which I like, because it's not like he's reliant on it like a lot of these guys are. You'd hope that because he's doing that, he's operating in the best interest of the people and that the money is of no interest to him in this situation. Apparently his net worth is around the 30 million mark, so he has done more in business than any other candidate available that we've got to vote for here, by a fucking mile, obviously. Farage is doing fucking cameos for cash, for Christ's sakes. And he's kind of like Trump in the sense of, he's not exactly like Trump, but in that he's come into politics later in his life after having a successful life in business. Yes, he's had a few bumps in the road. I'm sure people will say, oh, well, he wasn't perfect here, he wasn't perfect there. The guy's worth 30 fucking million. He's not doing cameos for a living. He's been successful enough. And I don't think it's been a lifelong ambition of his to be Prime Minister. I think that this is more of him as he's getting older thinking, you know what, I can do something here that feels like my duty. I don't really want to be the leader, but it's what I could do better than other people. And when you get like a reluctant leader who feels like they've got to do the right thing, usually they're going to make better decisions, in their opinion, for the people, not because they want power or to be a leader desperately. And if there's one thing that's really backed that up, in my opinion, that he is here to do the right thing, and I'm not saying he's always going to do the right thing because we just don't know, but back when he was in Restore, he and Farage were both talking about, we'll do a rape gang inquiry, right? If the government aren't going to do an inquiry, we'll do our own, we'll fund it.
If they won't do it, we at Reform will do it. I will have no difficulty in raising the money to do this whatsoever. We'll appoint independent ex-judges and experts, and we will have this out in public. And I hope, Sir Keir...
Will you have the statutory powers that will be granted to you through a public inquiry?
No, I won't have the statutory powers, but I tell you what, I think this would garner such massive public support that anybody that was asked to appear that didn't appear would look terrible.
So that was how Farage was talking when the idea was first floated. This is what he said at a later date.
There's no point me holding an inquiry into this, or Rupert Lowe holding an inquiry into this, unless it has statutory powers.
So Farage, after earning the brownie points of saying he would do the inquiry and not doing the inquiry, obviously dipped out on it. But Rupert Lowe did what he said he was going to do. And I think that deserves credit. And without going into everything he's uncovered, some of it is fucking horrendous, man. And like, this man has sat through all these women giving their testimonies, explaining what's been going on, and he's looking in so deep to everything that went on. There was this thing that he's posted, and you might have seen it, got millions of views. I mean, fucking hell. The extreme pain she suffered, including being filmed tortured in places called the Red Rooms. The torture included waterboarding, strangulation by rope. Distressingly, she was raped by a dog and filmed and forced to watch the footage back as the men placed bets. Another thing that was released is a witness who's seen a man open the back of a van and they're seeing 20 girls locked in dog cages. We've never heard any of this until Rupert Lowe got involved. And people will be claiming, oh, he's politicising it. And he's like, you think he's sitting through all this shit and listening to this horrendous crap because he's trying to score brownie points? The man could be retired on a beach right now. He's trying to help the community. And I'm as sceptical as anyone of politicians, but this is not nice to be doing with your time. And when he speaks out in where the other politicians are, he fucking sticks it right on them.
2 Afghan illegal migrants jailed for raping a schoolgirl. The footage exists. She filmed herself during the rape. Even the men's barrister warned it would lead to disorder if it was released, as it was so horrific.
And that's one of the reasons this has been covered up. Let's be real here. They know how people would react if they knew the true extent of this.
You're going to rape me, the girl cried as she was dragged away. She screamed for help and begged not to be taken. One of the migrants gagged her with his hand. The Afghan men forced her to perform sex acts in a secluded area. She is heard screaming for help. She calls for her friends. She wants to go home. She's pleading for help from passers-by. None came. Can you imagine her horror, her fear, her desperation? Think if it was your daughter. How would that make you feel? Honestly, think about that.
And to be fair to Rupert, he was quite calm when he put that one across, but sometimes, and I'm going to show you this clip, he gets really annoyed at them because they just don't give a shit.
We hear so much of the human rights for foreign paedophiles, sex pests and murderers.
Is not giving way. Members may disagree with what he's saying, but we will conduct this in an orderly way.
What about the human rights of the British people?
Absolutely nonsense.
The right not to be raped, stabbed and killed by foreigners who should never have been in our country to begin with.
And honestly, you hear people shouting at him, like, who are obviously on the left. Absolute nonsense. And it's like, do you know how this man's listened to these women tell him with their own voice and in their own eyes what they've fucking been through? He's not speaking for no reason here. They don't want to hear it because it doesn't fit their narrative. And this is where I've got to give him real credit, because it's not just him speaking out about it. He's going after the people who did it, the people who covered it up. He's going after them all legally.
A target list is already being made of rapists, police officers, social workers, council officials, politicians, and NHS employees. We will take out private prosecutions and civil litigation. We will be relentless in our pursuit.
I fucking rate it so highly. When you look at the fact that the current Prime Minister literally voted against an inquiry and told the whole Labour Party, vote against an inquiry, and this man's a one-man wrecking machine trying to uncover it all. It just shows the difference. And look, that's all well and good, and I think anyone can commend him on his work on that, but we got to also listen to what he actually stands for, what he believes, in order to assess, is he the one to take on the mantle and become the next Prime Minister?
To the young white men who feel ignored and insulted, I want to speak directly to you. For too long, young white men in this country have been treated as if your concerns don't matter, your struggles don't count, and your identity is something to apologize for. That your love of your country is somehow racist and wrong. You've been told to stay quiet, to step aside, to accept being blamed for things you never did and problems that you didn't create. Let me be clear. There is nothing wrong with being white. There is nothing wrong with being a man. There is nothing wrong with being straight. You are not the problem. The system is the problem.
And you know what? What he's saying there isn't like anything earth-shattering, but for young white men, it is, because no one ever talks to them. People often complain about Andrew Tate and all these, you know, weird guys in the fucking red pill community. Well, how do you think they got to the young white guys? They got to them because no one else was fucking giving them anything. It was all they had. They were a wide open, easy fucking target. And just to make the effort to connect with them is just automatically going to make young white lads going, oh, fucking hell. Someone's actually talking to us for a change. I thought diversity was our strength, was all that fucking mattered. Do you know what I mean? Because that's all we fucking hear. That's all I've heard from being a young lad. And I know the lads out there will know exactly what I'm fucking talking about, in the way that you are shamed for being a white dude, weirdly, as if it's a bad thing. It's fucking insane. They tweeted here, Restore Britain will ban foreigners from voting in British elections. I mean, how the fuck is that necessary? Like, what the fuck was that even a thing for anyway? You know, if I fucking moved over to fucking France, Belgium, I wouldn't be expecting to be able to vote in their election.
Now, we've obviously got people in society who are freeloading, who are living on the back of honest, tax-paying, law-abiding citizens. They're not going to want it because they're pork-barreling, and I don't want their vote, because, you know, if you're not prepared to work, don't vote for me, because I'm going to reward work. I'm going to reward enterprise. I'm going to reward risk-taking. And I want a society that looks after the most vulnerable. We must do that. We've always done that. Even when we had virtually no government, you had the friendly societies, and there was always a network of support for those people in genuine need. What I don't want is a society that rewards shirkers who sign themselves off with back pain or headaches or whatever. Doctors who give people sick notes for nothing.
Amen, brother. I don't see a thing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. People who have genuine health issues, absolutely We need to look after them. But let's be real here. We all know the benefit system's being fucking ransacked. And we've created a culture because of the fucking Labour Party and the Conservative Party that fucking rewards that shit. I want a fucking government like this. I want a government that rewards hard work. Because Lord knows the cart has been put before the horse for fucking long enough, motherfucker. We need to reward the fucking horse for a change, for Christ's sakes. Another thing I like about Rupert Lowe is he's worked specifically within government like budgets and stuff like that. So you know how like Elon Musk had Doge? He's been able to look through all of government spending and he's coming out with a lot of changes he wants to make.
From where I sit, I see the state is less efficient than the private sector, and yet nobody's holding it to account. So I'm asking you the question really, could we trim this budget, make it more effective by cutting down, laser focusing our attack, and if government departments aren't performing, there should be consequences, sackings, you know, the sort of thing that happens in the private sector, accountability.
Imagine accountability because you're fucking it up. How the fuck is this guy having to fucking suggest that? In any other walk of life, you shit, you waste money, you fuck it up, you get sacked. In the government, just get on with it, mate. He's also saying that all NHS staff should speak fluent English, which, again, how is this even a thing? But it is a thing. I get why it needs to be a thing, but it shouldn't be a thing. He put this long post out about speaking to numerous fathers who've had their children torn away from them for no reason. And he basically said that the system is broken and biased against good dads. And I thought, fuck me, mate. Another thing that I'm like, you know what? This has been needed for so long. That alone will make every fucking dad in the country vote for him if people know about this, you know? Because dads, they have no rights. They have fuck all rights, believe me. And I think fucking good on him for speaking up like that. He also said he was going to ban men from women's sports, toilets and prisons, which... common sense again. Restore then tweeted out, any teacher, medical professional or any individual of authority who encourages a young child to mutilate themselves will be prosecuted under a Restore Britain government. Boys are boys, girls are girls, leave children alone. How have we gotten to a point where that's even needed to be said? But like, thank fuck someone's saying it. Even if Restore don't get in, I hope that some of these policies influence the others to go, that makes sense. Restore Britain will put the safety and well-being of British women ahead of the third world sex pests who have broken into our country and are now freely roaming our streets. We do not give a shit about their human rights and they will all be deported immediately. I mean, look, he's worded it, you know, in a way, not every illegal immigrant is a third world sex pest. The reality is, there's been a lot of rapes, there's been a lot of murders, we see it on the news all the time, and if someone had have taken a hard stance on it before all of this, a lot of people's lives would have been saved. That's a fact. If Rupert Lowe, for example, was Prime Minister, you know, even 18 months ago, numerous lives would have been saved. And people can say, oh, it's harsh on the other. I'd rather save lives, I'm sorry. British people's lives should be more important to Britain than people who've come here illegally. I'm sorry, like. This one might divide people, and I'd love to know what you think of this in the comments. Restore will hold a referendum of the reintroduction for the death penalty for the most evil crimes, where guilt is absolutely undeniable. And then he's obviously got Axel Ruder Cabana's picture, the guy who killed those beautiful little girls, bless them. I would personally be all in fucking favour. Do it in the fucking street and let us fucking throw shit at them Game of Thrones style. If people think that's harsh, for me, it's not harsh enough. They should let me fucking have an hour, beat the shit out of them before they fucking kill him. And then there's the economical post where he's just talking about slashing tax for businesses. He's been in business for most of his life. He understands how to encourage growth in a way that, let's be real, none of these other politicians who are competing against him will have an idea of. He then says every foreign national will lose access to welfare under Restore, which, why should they get it? If you've not been putting into the system, why are you benefiting from it? I love the bottom of it. The piss take will end. I fucking love that, melee. And again, as much as I find that funny, I'm not saying I agree with this guy on everything, and there may be things in the future that he says that I'm like, nah, you bang out of order. But there is a lot of common sense coming through here. And again, it's not like the waffle with Farage. It's just bang on the fucking money to the point. And speaking of Farage, like, he keeps saying, oh, he's too extreme. He's so extreme, Rupert Lowe. Let's hear how extreme he is.
I don't care about people's religion or their colour or whatever. If they come here and they want to make a contribution and they're here on merit, you know, I like merit. Merit is the key. And I don't have any preconceived views that, you know, you should be of any creed, culture, colour or whatever. I think the only overriding fact for me is merit, merit, merit.
Bang on. And if you think everyone who's come here from all these other countries has come here just purely wanting to earn their way and build a life in the area. Unfortunately not. If that was the case, it would be fucking hunky-dory. But there's a lot of fucking dossers who've come over with their fucking feet up and are scrounging off the fucking state. And I am wholehearted in agreement with them here. If you come over here and you're fucking working your arse off, putting in the system and making this country better, brilliant. I know many who have. It's very possible. But unfortunately, a lot of shit has gone on. But if anyone's here working their bollocks off, doing the right thing, they should be protected, they should be kept here, and they should be left to get on with their life. Don't bother them. And it's funny that you see tweets like this, because Restore have been called by Reform as the extremists, and yet within 15 minutes after Restore say they're going to close off the visa routes to places that have previously sent us, you fucking rapists and things like that, where there's a bit of a notorious reputation of crime coming from those routes, they're going to close that off so that it's not so easy for them. And yet immediately, 15 minutes later, Reform say the exact same fucking thing. Again, I'm not against Reform necessarily, but when you're throwing the whole racism, fascism shit that people said about yous at Restore, and then you're copying their fucking tweets, you got no argument, man. Especially when you know that this guy was a part of your party at one point and it was all hunky-dory when he was and you were happy for it. Now he's a fucking fascist. And I think Rupert Lowe's philosophy on immigration, it may end up being, something I'll look at and go, bit harsh, I may change my mind on it. But right now, I don't think it's harsh to say if you come into this country and you commit crime, you should get the fuck. I think that's common sense. I don't think we should be looking after them in our fucking prisons. I was looking into Rupert Lowe and Nigel Farage because I do think that there's definite rivalry there now with how quickly Restore are growing. And I was like, what is the main difference that you can look at in their background outside of what Rupert Lowe achieved before getting into politics? And it's how they've been since Rupert Lowe entered politics. Rupert Lowe works so much harder than Nigel Farage, it actually stunned me. When you look at MPs and how much work they do for their area, which Farage is Clacton, they can ask questions to, try and get answers as to what's wrong in their area. Can you do this? Can you do that? Try and dig at the government and get answers and to make their area better. I looked into how many written questions Farage had submitted, and it was roughly between 8 and 20. In 20 months. At best, that's one letter a month. In the same time that Nigel Farage has written 20 questions, Rupert Lowe has written 2,200. Just amazing, that to me. He is hammering the government on questions on immigration, the NHS, farming, deportations, digital ID. He is scrutinising them on everything they're doing. And when I read that, I went, no wonder Farage wanted rid of you, because he's not working that hard. And you're like, what the fuck are you going to do? When are we going to get ready to set up this government and get ready to take over and do everything? And Farage ain't putting in that work. And Rupert Lowe is a man who's achieved his whole life, so he's used to that. He's working overtime, donating his check to charity and fucking doing all these thousands of emails and questions. And he's putting the pressure on Farage. And it totally made sense to me why Farage would be like, we need to get rid of this guy. Do what you got to do. Say he was going to shoot you. Nigel Farage's attendance as an MP for voting on the important topics, 36%. Rupert Lowe is not only doing his job and being an active MP and asking all those questions and doing all these speeches. I mean, he's just in their faces, but he's also a part of an inquiry on the rape gang scandal that Farage said he was going to do and then didn't fucking bother. Rupert Lowe is a pain in the arse to this government, and that's a good sign. Even if you disagree with his policies and all of that, you kind of have to admire, at least he gives a shit. And the problem is Rupert Lowe's Restore are, as much as they're rapidly growing, they're in their infancy, right? Who the fuck knows if Rupert can even as hard as he is working, I don't know if he's going to be able to put everything together in order to compete with the Green Party or Reform. But I like him and I trust him more than Farage. I actually quite like Kemi, the Badenoch, the Tory lass. I mean, some people might hate her, but I think she's a smart girl. I respect that. I just think Rupert Lowe comes across as anti-establishment, which makes me kind of want to see what he would do. I remember this interview he said where he didn't fit in with the guys at Reform.
But the problem is they're all one big club. And part of the reason they cut me out is I'm not interested in going to have drinks with them and getting drunk in the bar late at night and doing all sorts of things that they think are okay. That's not what I want to do. I've got, I like to walk around my farm, look at my crops. I like to talk to people who work for me and work with me. And I've got better things to do than cruise around with a bunch of lightweights. So I think I think you can see it now. It's just so obvious. And if the people can't see it, then open your eyes, because it's there.
And I think when he talks about that big club, it's Farage. Yeah, he plays the enemy of Labour, but he's been around them for fucking decades, man. He's literally inviting all the Tories into his party. Look at the way GB News is reporting on this. It's all Farage and you know, they're not supporting Rupert Lowe, even though, you know, some of the things are aligned in terms of their policies. It's like the establishment has chosen Farage. And that immediately makes me go, well, that guy's not been a lifelong politician and he doesn't want to fucking hire politicians. Maybe we'll fucking look at him. But look, maybe Reform are too far out in front, or maybe the split vote will make the Green Party get in and we'll all be fucked. But if I had a gun in my head, I'd pick Rupert Lowe, and I think that's quite obvious. I'd pick Rupert Lowe. I'm not going to deny it. If he gets in and he fucks it all up, I mean, there was times where, you know, when I did the video about between Trump and that stupid lass Kamala, I thought that was a no-brainer, and I still think it was a no-brainer. But there's times where I've watched what ICE have done, and I thought, oh, that's not what you want to see. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? And I reserve the right to fucking change my mind. But maybe Rupert Lowe would bring some respect back for this country and some patriotism back for this country and make people like believe in it again. Because I'm sick of America being the only country like with a ballsy leader and England having fucking Keir Starmer and looking like a bunch of pussies. But I'm sure you lot will disagree in the comments below, and that's what this is all about, right? I could not say anything and not deal with the hassle. It'd be much easier. So I hope you appreciate I'm just giving my honest opinion. I'm putting myself out there and I'm open to being wrong, and I'm always happy to being educated. But let me know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the True Geordie YouTube channel. I'll see you on the next one.